Hi, it's the Matt Mosley Show. Welcome in, and happy Monday to you. And not that we had plenty with college baseball and NBA game 3 coming up tonight in Madison Square Garden. The president will be in attendance. Get-in price is like unfathomable. Somebody was paying $1 million to be on Celebrity Row. Sit down there with Ben Stiller and Spike. There was Spike in, I didn't see Spike in San Antonio. I saw Stiller. I don't know if I saw Chalamet or not, but Stiller certainly made the trip. There were a couple other Knicks celebrities that made the trip, but I didn't see Spike. Maybe after the whole episode with Reggie, maybe they're trying to keep Spike just for home games. Hey, why don't you not go on the road? Why don't you not maybe get them fired up or help them in some way? But I mean, wow, what's happening to the Spurs is unbelievable. Now, busy day today. We got Kevin Hoosier Hall with us as always. We've got 2:00. We are going to go out to Lubbock, and Chris Level, who's a Texas Tech insider, big time broadcaster out there, does their sideline football, does their radio analyst for them. I mean, really does a nice job. And he does Locked On. So he's one of those few kind of guys that works for Tech, but will then jump in there and give you some good commentary as well. Does not hold back from his thoughts on things like Brendan Sorsby being ruled eligible to play football at Texas Tech. Now at 2:30, we'll have Chuck Cooperstein on, voice of the Mavs, to talk Game 2. He was also at the Memorial Golf Tournament. He's up there with Nicholas hanging out, so I'm not sure what was going on there. We'll ask him about it at 2:30 today. Chuck Cooperstein, the radio voice of the Dallas Mavericks, and longtime friend of mine. So that will be good. There you see the photo of one Brendan Sorsby. So we've been waiting on the state judge. I forget the exact percentage, Kevin, I gave it. I liked I liked the arguments Kessler was trying to make, but I felt like he was just throwing stuff up against the wall. They immediately, the helpful thing they did was to get this kid into therapy, get him into gambling rehab, paint him as, hey, it's the NCAA. I thought they were in it for the mental health, the well-being of the athletes. What are they doing? What's the NCAA up to? They're not going to let this kid play? Well, he kind of broke some rules that have been around for a pretty good while. You don't bet on your own team. Now, again, Kevin, we can get into that a little bit later in terms of getting the weeds a little bit on, how big is it? Is it a lesser crime when you're not really playing in the games? Now, you're betting on your own team, and you're betting for them to win, and you're not playing in those games. So did that make it a lesser crime? And it was happening at Kevin's beloved Indiana. So we'll get into a little bit of that. But just on the surface, the way this has been reacted to, this has been sort of addressed as like the darkest day, remember, Kevin, how they acted like when Baylor got James Najee eligible around like Christmas time last year? It's like, oh my gosh, we'll never recover. Oh, this is awful. This is horrible. There was all that kind of reaction. That seems so little and nothing, partially because the guy couldn't play. But the other part is that this just has this, you just thought that this was a bridge too far, that maybe like gambling and the level of gambling he did, this was not like, I bet on a couple of games. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. I mean, it used to be they'd find out you were in like a NCAA bracket deal. But this happened to a Baylor pitcher one time. Sadly, that guy ended up getting in trouble for something else later on. We won't get into that. but he was a really good Baylor pitcher, and he got caught being in a March Madness pool that, by the way, the money was going to go toward their local church that they were involved with. And who was that kid? I think his name was Chad Hawkins. Now that I think about it, may have played at Grapevine or somewhere like that up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, but it was a really good pitcher at Baylor. And they dropped the hammer on him. It's like, hey, he can't pitch in they wouldn't let him pitch in the NCAA tournament, at least the first round. I think that was the year they might have made it to the Super Regionals because they hosted against Minnesota and some others, and then they made it to the Super Regional. And then that would have been circa 2003 or 4, back when Baylor baseball was really good. So anyway, and the stadium was brand new. And then, anyway, bottom line is, if you thought the NCAA was a joke and that its rules were made mockery of, in fact, I kind of think Bill Self showed the way, Kev. I kind of feel like Bill Self, in just kind of not responding to, when Kansas was in trouble and just ignoring the NCAA basically and just fighting them over the course of a couple of years or whatever, they ended up winning. The teams that turned themselves in or self-report or even give their self-violations like Oklahoma State, no. It was like, no, sorry, y'all can't play in the NCAA tournament. So teams like that suffered, while teams like the Kansas that just said, no, we're going to treat you guys like the joke you are, they succeeded. Okay, and Bill Self ended up, I think, missing 2 games. Tech did a different approach here. This seemed like a Hail Mary. And in fact, that was brought up in the court. The NCAA attorney said this is what the equivalent to a Hail Mary, what Jeffrey Kessler, that's his attorney, and Brendan Sorsby are trying to do. This is a Hail Mary to get him eligible. Now, they're going to appeal this, and who knows what will happen on appeal. But for now, he can join the team, get ready, and the only punishment is he misses the first game against ACU, and then I think he misses a road trip. I think they got a game with Oregon State. Can't remember if that's at home or away game, but he cannot play in those first 2 games. He's eligible for the rest of the season. So that leaves him, 9 games, 10 games that he can play in. And Texas Tech, and this is part of the hypocrisy of all this stuff and almost the comedy of it, that we everybody's mad that this guy is, again, I understand it. I think it's crazy. I mean, I think the only thing it could do, the reason I'm trying to find a bit of a positive here is maybe this grabs Congress's attention even more. Maybe this even gives them more incentive to come up with a bill that everybody can agree to and provide some form of help, congressional help, to get us back on the path. Maybe that will do that. And some people think that will be the case. Almost everybody thinks that this is egregious, though, what has happened. That you can bet on your own games and live to tell about it and play and be granted. Now, let me tell you something real quick that's out there right now floating around that I think is a fallacy and is just plain wrong. Everybody's like, well, they got a local judge. Well, yeah, it's a local venue. I mean, the ruling that was, the court is right out there in Lubbock, Texas. Is that a favorable venue to Texas Tech? Well, of course it is. Same as Alabama when they're trying to get something done. We get an injunction. Same thing with Oregon. When they're trying to get these injunctions, yeah, you want a local court, and that's what they had. But this is not, everybody's saying, oh, they got a local judge. Well, it's not exactly true. The judge, the first judge, recused himself because he was a Tech grad and he had tickets on the 50-yard line. And so he recused himself. So this guy went to UTA undergrad, went to University of Houston Law School, and he's a retired judge out of Tarrant County. Last time he practiced law, it was in Fort Worth. All right. Last time I checked, that's about 300 miles, about 315 miles. That'll take you, good 4.5, 5 hours. If you stop for a little break, that'll take you about 5 hours from Fort Worth to get out there to Lubbock. Okay. So he's not a local judge. All right. I'll say that on behalf of the Tech people who get mad at all these folks that don't have their facts straight and all that. That is true. This is not a local judge. This is listen, this is all in federal court, state court, whatever court you're trying to go in. You want to try to get your case moved into the most favorable venue ever. Now, in this case, this is where they, the courts filed this injunction to try to get him to play, Sorsby and his lawyer, and it only made sense to do it right there in the community where he's trying to play football. So it's not like some huge legal trick. Oh my gosh, they brought in a high-powered lawyer and he had enough money and sense to get that thing tried right there, that hearing right there in Lubbock, Texas. No. Any school would do this. Any place you would do it. You try to do it right there. Get your injunction in your hometown, where he's going to play his football. So, and then I got people saying, well, someday these Tech fans that are excited today, they'll realize how bad this has been for college athletics. No, they don't. No, that's not. We can't play that game. 20 years from now, they're going to realize it. It's the same thing as the Michigan fans. Do you think the Michigan fans are like, we just don't feel as great about that national title, because of that scandal, that sign stealing scandal from Connor Stallion? Stallions. We just don't feel that great about it because we kind of had to cheat a little bit to get ourselves in position to do that. They don't care. Is Jim Harbaugh going around on an apology tour? I'm sorry, man. We probably crossed the line there. We did a little bit of cheating. No, he's coaching the Chargers, having a great life. And that's, again, our leaders. We say, where is the leadership? Where's leadership? Well, nobody knows how to lead because, Kevin showed me earlier today the NCAA statement from Charlie Baker, the president of the NCAA. And I'm sure Charlie Baker's a good guy, and he's a very accomplished person. He's making a lot of money to be the president of the NCAA. There's no. I mean, it's just further proof that the NCAA. I think he used it as proof that they never before have they needed Congress more. Well, we're already doing that. Ted Cruz came out with some statement today. It was sort of separate of the Sorsby thing. Quite honestly, I don't even know if he knows the Sorsby things happen. Sometimes these politicians are so buried in whatever. I don't think they're not like us. They're not out there following Twitter with every bit of news. Oh, Brendan Sorsby, blah, blah, blah. No, whatever Cruz put out today had nothing to do with it. Didn't say anything about Sorsby. The NCAA is powerless, and maybe this will lead to either Congress acting or this will push people even more into let's find a governing body that works. Now, the scary thing with that is if it happened today, if we say, okay, good, we're leaving the NCAA, yay. You know what it would be? It'd be the Big Ten and the SEC. They'd say, okay, guys, you remember us? Since we're making all the decisions on the college football playoff and pretty much everything that happens, we're in charge now, and we're going to govern. And if you violate something, we're gonna be the group that gets after you. Oh, great, because who would get special treatment there? Oh, you think the Big Ten and SEC might get so? We got to be careful what we wish for. We want the NCAA gone. All right, great. Let's get rid of them. All right, now, who enforces the rules? Oh, the College Sports Commission or whatever they're called? Oh, really? Because it seems like they're doing a bang-up job because they've got no authority. Everybody's just making fun of them and just going around them. So anyway, but let's get back to the case at hand. The aforementioned Brendan Sorsby. Now, Kev, do we have any of these statements from the university or anything? You know, the statement we got. I think Kirby Hocutt has, come out, the Tech AD, and he's basically. I like Kevin. The one I like the most though was Cody Campbell. All right. This is the billionaire that's trying to help change college athletics while also using the rules to his credit. Now, that said, I mean, I kind of tend to agree with the West Virginia AD who said maybe he's the right guy to be doing it. Now he's made another statement. He's made another statement here, Kev, in the last. This is Cody Campbell, the billionaire. Texas Tech booster. He said, last week, Charlie Baker made an equivocal statement and failed to endorse the bipartisan Cruz-Cantwell bill that is aimed at and will be effective in bringing order to chaos. This week, Charlie and the NCAA are begging for congressional support and intervention. Blame Texas Tech, blame agents, blame plaintiffs' attorneys, blame me and other boosters. Hell, blame whoever you want. But if you want to know why college sports are in such a mess, look no further than right here. All right. We're throwing a little mud at Charlie Baker. Little Charlie Baker, the head of the NCAA, whose statement says there is no better example of why targeted intervention from Congress is necessary. When you have schools and deep-pocketed supporters willing to look the other way on the glaring integrity threat of betting on your own team and judges whose rulings effectively strip away our ability. Okay, I'm not going to get into any more of that because the truth is that's getting into a deal where I think Cody felt like Charlie was taking a shot at him, so he's taking a shot back. All right, this is some good old-fashioned Texas mudslinging is what we have. And this is a man that can sling the football a little bit. Now, before I get to, I think, Kevin, the part nobody's really talking about today, this will be the special Mosley Show angle of this whole Brendan Sorsby thing. All right, and we can have a discussion too on, I mean, is the kid evil? No. Did he mess up? Absolutely. Did he mess up enough to be punished more than 2 games? Of course he did. Of course he did. Now, at some point we can have a discussion on, like, how bad was what he was doing out there at Indiana? Well, it wasn't great. It wasn't great. But also it wasn't like, oh, let's put the black mark on this kid forever and never let him play again. I do think the kid probably, his college football career should be over. Don't hear me wrong. But some of the people, are out here overreacting a little bit. Now, here's what Cody Campbell had to say, Kev. There's so many statements going around. I didn't know, Kevin, which ones you had ready to throw up on the screen or not. But I'll just read this one. This is from Cody Campbell. This unfortunate situation this is the Texas Tech billionaire booster, is the outcome of a broken system. I'm doing everything I can to fix it, but until there is a permanent solution, Texas Tech and its student athletes have to do the best they can to navigate and compete amid the chaos that exists in the reality of the world we live in. All right, that's kind of a word salad of him basically saying, yes, I'm trying to fix it, which he actually is. Yes, I'm exploiting it, which he actually is too. We have chaos. We have no rules. We have no guardrails. We have no cap. So Cody is helping fund this massive change. And by the way, Texas Tech's chances to win a national title, Kev, have gone from 25-1 to 14-1 based on this one thing that has happened today. and that is Brendan Sorsby getting to play football. Now, all that'll change, of course, if the NCAA will certainly appeal this, and if this thing somehow gets overturned, the injunction does. I mean, honestly, the NCAA has already ruled against him. All right, we already know that. We already have that response. That happened within the last 48 hours. But again, it's so powerless that this state judge can come in, give him an injunction, and he gets to play. And that supersedes any sort of like NCAA rules. And what's happened is over the years, I'm sure back in the day, the SMU attorneys and everybody they were just like, oh, please don't do this to us. Oh, please, we'll do this, we'll do that. And when they violated their second, they got on probation, and then SMU did it a second time because they had to meet payroll. They gave them the death penalty. We're so far removed from that, it's hilarious. From like the NCAA being able to do something like that. They used to be the boogeyman. It used to be, oh my gosh, the NCAA is coming. Woo, woo, let's all go hide. They're coming to town. They're going to take us all down. Somebody said to me, I made some joke about tech or something today. Somebody said, oh, Baylor didn't get in trouble for the Dave Bliss scandal of 2003. Oh, God. Okay. Thank you, folks. Why? Well, you better not say that to me. I was actually there covering that for the Dallas Morning News. And Baylor, all they ended up with was a 5-year probation. They 2005, 2006 season, they didn't even get to play. Scott Drew was the head coach. Starting in the 2004 season, they did not even have a non-conference schedule. In 2005, 2006 season, they just didn't play anybody in non-conference. They said, sorry, you don't get to play a non-conference schedule. Oh, really? Okay. All right. We'll just be ready for conference. So Baylor that year just sat out, November, December, and then in January, it's like, okay, now you can go play your schedule. So this thought, Baylor didn't get in trouble with the NCAA. Oh, okay. All right. And then, of course, they said, well, Baylor didn't get in trouble for the sexual assault scandal that rocked the campus in 2016. Oh, really? Okay. The conference fined them millions upon millions of dollars. All the coaches the assistant coaches stayed for the one season, but then they were all wiped out. Art Briles never coached again. He's coaching like Division II 20 years later, or however many years later we are now. Gosh, it didn't happen that long ago, did it? 10 years ago, 11 years ago. So he's just now has a job for the first time ever. It was a horrible scandal, but this thought, somebody saying, Baylor didn't pay any price for all that. Okay. And again, I always say it pales and compare any kind of, I don't want anybody to hear me and go, Mosley's being unfair or not being sensitive enough. I mean, again, the victims in these things, they pay the ultimate price, and it's horrible. And I get that. Okay. Because sometimes when we just only talk about the sports side of it, it's like, oh, he's forgotten about all the bad stuff that happened. No, I have not. Okay. But let's stick to this tech thing. And goodness gracious, Kev, I feel like I've talked for 3 minutes and we've talked for 30 minutes. All right. We got off to a bit of a late start. Whose fault was that? Oh, mine. We do have major guests coming up. We've got someone on the ground in Lubbock that's a big tech insider. And then to get you ready for game 3 tonight, the voice of the Dallas Mavericks, Chuck Cooperstein, is going to come on at 2:30. And then Kev, we're going to have we'll do Campus Confidential here in a minute, and we can keep talking about Sorsby even in Campus Confidential because it's the huge news today. Now, Kev, let me give you a little Mosley angle that I think people might find some interest in. We don't really know if this guy can play. Like, I know I've talked about, oh my gosh, NFL, somebody will take him in the supplemental and all that. And all that's true. All that's true. If he had been in a supplemental draft, somebody would have taken him. And, I don't know if NFL teams would have tried to, Kevin, there's one team that was talking recently, Kevin, we saw that. And they were like, I think I'd be kind of scared to take Brendan Sorsby. I was surprised that team admitted that and said that, but they did say it. Kevin's kind of brought that up, and that kind of backed up something Kevin's been saying, because I've been thinking NCAA wouldn't really care about all this gambling stuff, and at least this one team did act like they cared. And I just can't remember which team that was. Kevin, was it the Bengals or somebody? I can't remember who it was. Well, but here's I'm going to get back to this. Can Brendan Sorsby, here's why we think he's great. He was pretty good at Cincinnati. Most of us, unless you went to school at Cincinnati or you're calling Big 12 games, even my Baylor brethren that keep up with the Big 12 really well. Let's not try to fake this. Let's not try to act like you watch Brendan Sorsby play a ton of college football, because you didn't. You just flat out didn't. Now, was he good? Yeah. Was he great? I don't know. I mean, I certainly thought more highly of the guy who's at LSU now that used to be at Arizona State. This guy, when Tech came in and gave him whatever it was, $5 or $6 million, we suddenly all were like, Heisman, best player in the portal, unbelievable. Well, Tech was trying to get over a bad feeling. And that was playing against Oregon and putting up a goose egg. Did they kick a field goal in that game? I certainly know they didn't make the end zone. They might have gotten beat 19-3 or something. I don't know. Defense played fine. Offense was horrific. The fan base was very upset and sad and down. And then Joey and Cody came out and said, hey, look over here. Look over here. We're going to pay $6 million and we're going to go get this big-time quarterback. I don't know if he's that good. I still don't. Now, is he better than Will Hammond? I think so. Just because he's got more experience and he's played at the Big 12 level. He knows how to get through a Big 12 schedule. He's played a couple of seasons. He was not good enough as a true freshman to get on the field for a subpar Indiana team. I don't think he was on the field for them as a redshirt sophomore. So he goes from there to Cincinnati, and his career starts to kind of go upward. It wasn't immediate. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, he's unbelievable. It just got better and better, and he was pretty good. He was pretty good last season. But, I mean, he's only a Heisman hopeful because Texas Tech has a big enough profile and a bunch of money and handed him a huge amount of money. And then everybody's like, oh, well, this guy is like the number one guy in the portal. I don't know. I mean, honestly, if you took the money out of the equation and you just put him next to the Arizona State guy and Trinidad coming back to Ole Miss and Dante, the guys that are coming back, and then the guys that left in the portal like Mensah going from Duke to Miami, and even Florida quarterback DJ Lagway going to Baylor. If you just took all the money out of the equation and you just said, Mosley or Kevin, look at all these quarterbacks and you tell me who's the best. I don't know. I don't know if I would have put Sorsby up there that high, but Tech went after him and they paid him a huge amount of money. And then suddenly, same thing with Hoover at TCU. We're sitting there like, Hoover, pretty good quarterback. Guy puts up really good numbers. Good guy, seemingly. Throws a lot of interceptions. And then, Indiana swoops in and takes him. And then all of a sudden we're like, oh, man, that guy's pretty awesome. In fact, that guy might win the Heisman next year. Well, is that about this kid? Or is that about, Signetti and that program? What's more about Signetti and the program than it is about that kid? Same thing for Sorsby. It's Texas Tech is a playoff team that throws around millions of dollars, and they're great. And again, I'm jealous. I don't ever want to hear anybody say, oh, Mosley's beating up on Tech and acting like Tech's cheating or something. No, If as long as nobody's throwing them in jail, keep doing your thing, man. Keep doing your thing. I wish Baylor had the money to be doing this. Really do. I'd love to see it. Love to see it. I mean, I don't think, at some point Baylor may just be, I don't know. I don't know if they would do it or not if they had the money. Maybe they would. Maybe they wouldn't. But I just don't. There's a lot being said today, and it's mostly about, is this the downfall of college football? I just want to say, just from a pure football standpoint, I'm not sure if this guy's that great. And maybe he's good enough that they can, kind of like with Baron Morton, that they put enough defensive talent around him. But I think Tech's going to take I think they're going to take a few on the chin this year. And so we will have spent all our time like going crazy and Sark mouthing off and all of this. And these Texas Tech Red Raiders, because another thing, Kev, and we'll go to Campus Confidential here in a second, I promise. But it's also not easy to go to just be the villains. Now, maybe they'll be good at it, and maybe it'll be like Jimmy Johnson's old Miami teams or something. But do you realize that this kid went from maybe some people feeling bad for him that he's got some kind of gambling addiction to being on a team and representing a team and being the face of a team that is now the biggest villains in college sports. Bigger than Cignetti in Indiana could ever be, bigger than Ryan Day at Ohio State. I think they've surpassed even the evil empire that is the University of Texas down there on the 40 acres. This is the biggest villains. These are the biggest villains in college athletics. Wow. Watch them. Watch this thing play out. It's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. I just don't know if the guy is that good. We've lost our minds over a guy. But now the reason we've lost our minds is okay. All right, Kev, I'm sorry. I've blown through. We will apologize to all our unbelievable sponsors. We're gonna settle up with them right now because they've been so great to us. Cherry Johnson, Siegmund James, thank you. Thank you, Schmaltz's. Thank you, the greatest sandwich shop around. You guys are unbelievable. Thank you so much. Next, we do some Campus Confidential.
It's the premier charity event of the year, the 2026 Central Texas Cattle Barons Ball, presented by Ascension Providence. A fun evening filled with great food and drink, dancing, a spectacular auction, and more. This year's theme is Nashville Nights, Neon Lights, and Bullfights. Get your tickets now, donate, or be a sponsor. Help support the American Cancer Society to find a cure. The 2026 Central Texas Cattle Barons Ball, October 24th at MCC Highlander Ranch. For more information, go to centraltexascattlebaronsball.org.
Do you suffer from low sports enthusiasm? Have you just not been able to get into the game? Maybe your balls are just feeling deflated. Well, get back to your old self and enjoy the game again. The friendly bartenders at Dancing Bear want you to know that you're not alone, and they can help. With dozens of craft beers rotating every week, pints of beer at Dancing Bear Pub have proven to reduce symptoms of low sports enthusiasm. Side effects include good times, good vibes, and new friends. Do not visit Dancing Bear Pub without consulting 4 or 5 of your closest buddies.
Bumblebee Blinds of Waco and Temple is your one-stop shop for custom window treatments, transforming your vision into reality. Choose from a selection of shades, blinds, shutters, and curtains. Bumblebee Blinds stands behind our service and products, ensuring peace of mind with our trusted warranty. Call Bumblebee Blinds today to schedule your design consultation. Bumblebee Blinds, simplifying window treatments one covering at a time. BumblebeeBlinds.com.
Have you heard the latest about CTWP? Let me tell you. How about 2 cents for a color copy? Only Kyocera offers. Don't believe me? We really copy your dog? Grab your paperwork and let's compare. I guarantee CTWP has the best prices and service.
It's the 2026 Heart of Texas Builders Association Parade of Homes, brought to you by the First National Bank of Central Texas. Tour a variety of homes at different price points, plus see the latest trends From beautiful kitchens to outdoor living spaces, see the latest colors and design patterns. This is your chance to walk through homes, meet the builders, and get inspiration for your own projects. The Heart of Texas Builders Association Parade of Homes, June 5th, 6th, and 7th, and June 13th and 14th. Tickets are available online or at any parade home. For more information, go to wacohomeparade.com. At Schmaltz's Sandwich Shop, we don't just make sandwiches, we build them with fresh ingredients, bold flavors, and homemade baked bread every single day. Toasty on the outside, goodness on the inside. Schmaltz's Sandwich Shop in Waco is locally owned and operated since 1975 with 2 locations in Waco, Town West off Valley Mills and downtown off 5th Street. Whether it's lunch, dinner, or just a craving, we got the perfect bite waiting for you.
It is the Mosley Show. We got a lot of live things happening as we speak, and just texting and letting everybody know. Thanks for everybody who came in. You know, if you're listening to us, a lot of folks want to talk Sorsby, and you know, it's always fun when we're out there on Twitter, and a lot of you watch our live Twitter show, and we. Or that's how you watch the show. If you are doing that, go over and subscribe to the YouTube page or YouTube, the Matt Mosley. Just do a Matt Mosley search in the YouTube show. Go ahead and subscribe to that. And that'll help in various ways. But one way is you can put little comments in there. We'll see it. And Kevin's really good about grabbing those and throwing them up on the screen. Scotty knows how to do that, one of our regulars, and he's always giving us really good information and letting us know if we got any Baylor breaking news we might have not had our eye on. And that's he's the one who alerted us the other day to the Baylor baseball player leaving, Travis Sanders, which was a struggle. We've been watching college baseball all weekend, and those old pesky Longhorns and the Mountaineers are headed to Omaha, and we've got some series that are still going today. In fact, OU and Kansas are finishing up a game as we speak. The problem for Kansas is that OU started the game. It was suspended last night, up 8-1. That's a pretty tall mountain to climb in game 2 of that series. So it does look like the Sooners will be going to the World College or to the College World Series. And let's also remember, so it'll be the Horns and the Sooners representing the SEC. And then Georgia will be there too after disposing of Mississippi State. So a lot of interesting things going on. Troy will be there. That's kind of fun to see Troy break through, and Troy will be in the College World Series. I assume it's for the first time ever. I think it's almost safe to assume that. So anyway, Kev, we just had the West Virginia AD on, so I thought it would be nice to congratulate them. In fact, I thought about getting their coach on today, but we happen to have a lot of other breaking news happen. We'll have a guest on from Lubbock coming up in about 10 minutes or so. But Kevin, what do you have for us in Campus Confidential?
All right, so I want to just know how Joe Klatt's college football buy and sell list here struck you.
Okay, this is Joel Klatt, who apparently is replacing somebody on what is that thing, Kevin? Guys your age and younger have loved to play over the years, the college
football video game.
Yeah. But what's the official name for it? The college football, the most recent 26 or something. What's the actual? Yeah, it has a name, right? Is it just called college football?
College football 27.
Okay. See, I guess his voice is replacing Fowler's or something on there. I noticed. Yeah. CFB Stock Watch 2026. That's interesting because of Matt. See, isn't that weird that one guy that got fired at UCLA? Yeah, I I like, maybe it's because the guy's coming from James Madison to UCLA, and guys from James Madison right now, maybe we give them a little bit. Think about all the involvement that like James Franklin has in all this right now. He's gone to Virginia Tech, so he's buying on them. He's going on the school that Franklin got fired from. And then I think UCLA, didn't they have some huge upset over Penn State, which may have led to James Franklin's exit? Yep. I feel like James Franklin's involved about 3 of those teams, and they're buying stock on all of them. It's every one of those schools that he's buying stock on have brand new head coaches. Am I wrong? No. So that's odd to me. It's interesting. I wouldn't necessarily buy stock on Penn State. I mean, I know he brought a bunch of people from Iowa State. Was Iowa State that great last year? No. I would of that group, I would say LSU has the best chance to do something because they got the coach. They already had a lot of talent, and he's brought some talent in with him. So the others, I think Franklin will be fine. But I mean, again, I think none of the others really interest me that much. Okay, he's selling. I love now that I guess we think Vandy's so great that we're going to sell. Like, no, I don't believe in Vandy. I mean, it was not that long ago where if they won 6 games, it was a huge deal, right? Now we're like, I'm selling on Vandy, whatever. I would say to sell on Illinois, Vandy, and Georgia Tech is kind of a non-story. It almost seems like he's trying to get in good with Lane, right? Because it's just like Lane leaves, so he's selling on Ole Miss. I mean, I wouldn't sell on Ole Miss because they're bringing back their quarterback, and they're bringing a bunch of their talent back. But when you have a great quarterback, a proven quarterback, why would I sell on that team? No. Alabama, I get it. And that coach he's like, on one hand, like Michigan was like trying to hire him, and on one hand, he's always 1 foot out the door. Alabama will run him out of town so fast. If they only win 8 or 9 games, they will try to run him out of town. I think he's probably right on Alabama. I don't like him on Ole Miss. The rest of them, like, who in the world cares about Illinois football? Like, when was the last time we care about Illinois basketball? Because they're pretty good, right? And they made the Final Four. Did they make the Final Four?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So yeah, that's fine. It's fine. Nothing really splashy about this except for I wonder why he's choosing to buy stock on all these brand new coaches. And where is our buddy Eric Morris in that? Why is Oklahoma State not on the list? I'd buy an OSU before I'd buy in UCLA. I really would. Even though they got the great, I don't know. I think Signetti's a once in a lifetime. I don't think just because this dude that's coming into UCLA was coaching at James Madison, there's some kind of magic there.
He also did show up to a UCLA basketball game and called some teams out, and kind of replicated that whole experience. But also he's selling on a team who has one of the players from the cover of the game you were talking about.
He's selling on.
That's Ole Miss.
Is that Ole Miss over there?
That's Q and Lacey.
Is that the Rebs?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like him. They got a great quarterback. They got some big time defenders coming back. They lost the edge guy to I think one of those edge players. 2 of those Ole Miss players did go with Lane, but they still got a lot of talent, and they got a coach who likes to tamper and likes to try to throw other people under the bus. I mean, they got them that's going to be interesting because here's what Lane needs. For Lane's legacy, he wouldn't admit this publicly, but here's what he's rooting for. He needs to be really good at LSU, and he wants Ole Miss to fall apart. He wants Ole Miss to, just like he did when he left Tennessee. This is a guy who kind of gets off on being hated. it takes a special personality, and I don't really have it. People might say, "Oh, Mosley doesn't mind being hated." I don't like it. I'll tell you, people who like it are like Skip Bayless. He's just at some point just embraced it. Everybody hates me, but it's more important that probably even Stephen A. to a certain extent. Although Stephen A. does weird stuff where he tries to defend himself on dumb, like, why would you have a special show to refute something Jason Whitlock said? I mean, again, I've known Whitlock forever, but if your platform is way, way up here and Whitlock's is way, way down here, why do you feel the need to respond to the guy who doesn't have the following? It doesn't make any sense. But a guy like Bayless just loves being hated. And I think Lane truly loves it. And I believe he is the most hated college football coach since. I'm trying to think who in the past has just not minded just being, maybe Jimmy back in the day, and then Barry, look at that. And that thing, Kevin, when we had Jackie Sherrill on the other day, that was a kind of a funny thing. What he was referencing when he said Joe Paterno, in the late 70s, they were saying, "Joe, do you ever think about retiring?" And he said, I wouldn't want to retire and leave college football to the Barry Switzers and Jackie Sherrills of the world. And, Joe Pa kind of got his in the end, right? I would say, given what happened on his watch, was far worse than anything that happened on Switzer's or Jackie's watch. All right, Kev, save whatever else you had. Did you have one quick one real quick that you wanted to get to, or can we save it? Okay. That's Kev. We're not hearing the Kev like we normally do. Kev's got a great voice. He's got a great PA voice. And so we got to get something kind of handled there, because we like hearing from Kevin. All right. And we want you to hear the full Kevin experience. Chris Level is a guy you'll enjoy hearing from. Texas Tech insider. He joins us from the land of Lubbock. All right. From Lubbock, Texas. He joins us next.
When you strive for greatness, you have a target on your back. When it comes to finances, we're all targets for scammers. But with the right game plan, you can protect yourself. Don't get faked by fraud.
Here's a tip. Don't buy from social media ads unless the ad is from a verified company. When you click those ads, you open yourself up to fraud. If it seems too good to be true, it almost always is.
This message is brought to you by Central National Bank.
Lake Waco Golf Club is a semi-private facility nestled along the north point of Lake Waco, one of the few facilities in Texas to have a full 18-hole regulation golf course as well as an executive 18-hole par 3 golf course. Plus, check out their bar and grill, which is open to the public. And if you're not a golfer, then enjoy time by the pool or even enjoy fishing around Lake Waco. Become a member today and call to book your tee time. Lake Waco Golf Club, where family and friends fun begins. Check them out at lakewacogc.com for more information.
For over 2 decades, I've come to Allen Samuels shop, especially for trucks, because I've been very satisfied with the performance of those trucks. I think the strengths of Allen Samuels is obviously in their customer service and obviously taking care of your vehicle after the sale.
Like Allen Samuels always said, Waco has a lot to offer, and so do we at Allen Samuels Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Come by, let's be friends.
Enjoy a quiet atmosphere with beautiful river views at the Brazos Landing, located in Waco along the Brazos River across from McLean Stadium. Enjoy homemade dishes like shrimp and grits, chicken piccata, braised short ribs, prime New York steaks, and more. Plus, enjoy a delicious dessert like creme brulee or key lime pie. Open for lunch and dinner Tuesday through Sunday. Brazos Landing in Waco, the only place where I-35 and the Brazos River meet.
It's the Restore Clarity Focus Patch, my little secret weapon for staying sharp, focused, and on task. Each box comes with simple instructions inside, so you always know exactly how to apply it. Each patch lasts for 3 days. I love that I can wear it all day.
But boy, it looked effortless.
Man, watch this.
Layups, floaters, threes. He was like an unsolvable equation.
I was born like this.
His resilience, his strength, his belief, adversity never stood a chance.
Know your power.
All right, Mosley Show. I mean, I only did 35 straight minutes on this Brendan Sorsby thing. We want to get right back into it. And Chris Level has been in our green room. It's a place we put our special guests and just kind of where they can dine and just take part in, some of the luxury that is associated with the Mosley Show. Chris Level is a Texas Tech insider, broadcaster. He does it all. And he's part of that Locked On family. But Chris, what a newsy day we woke up to today. We knew it would drop, the decision would drop, but welcome back to the show. How are you?
I'm doing good. An eventful summer around here for sure.
Were you, I thought you might be on a beach or somewhere when this would hit. Do you have a family vacation on the books, or have you already taken one, or what's going on with that?
In early July, yes, but yeah, I'm here for all the shenanigans that are going on right now for sure. We got the Texas coach saying stuff. We got the Texas Tech coach responding to that stuff. We've got and now we've got this deal that's been going on for 6 weeks, 2 months. So I'm kind of just personally glad that there's closure one way or the other, however it was going to go. I'm just like, it's just been hanging out there. So
and don't forget the he said, she said, between Tech and Tennessee
softball.
And the softball, the Zapruder film that was introduced there to kind of see, what was said there. I mean, you dabble in pretty much everything at Tech. Do you your softball, is that in your wheelhouse as well?
Well, we've had to pick up that ball and play with it the last couple of years because they've been really good. I think they're going to continue to be good. But I wasn't a big softball person before that. But since we're starting there, it's a great sport for TV. That's for sure. Yeah. I will admittedly say to you, I enjoy watching that much better than college baseball. Just the length of the games and then you got drama to go with it. So and obviously there's some teams in the state of Texas that are really good at it. Congrats to the University of Texas for winning back-to-back national championships. But yeah, it's been interesting, but drama-free it has not been. Yes.
We could have had you on to talk about some of that, but today the Brendan Sorsby news comes down, and he gets the injunction to play. Now we'll see what the NCAA does. It's interesting. This is now isn't it interesting that everything that happens is like the end of college athletics, right? It's like whatever new thing is. I brought this up earlier. Baylor got some random guy that had been drafted, okay, and it ends up he can't play. You probably saw him at some point during a Tech Baylor game, James Najee. And, of course, nobody even remembers that now. But at the time that happened, right before Christmas, like Christmas Eve, everybody's like, this is the downfall. Tom Izzo, this is awful. Can't believe I got to talk to Scott Drew. And, of course, the guy couldn't play, and so everybody moved on with their lives. This is the latest, Chris, downfall of all college athletics. Now, you have an interesting view of this because you do do broadcasting there for Tech, but you're also an analyst and you have all your own opinions on everything. How much did this ruling surprise you that Sorsby was going to get to play this next season? How surprised were you?
Yeah, admittedly, I've been trying to, because I've been asked to be a legal expert and an ACL recovery expert, with the thought that if Sorsby was going to be ineligible, that how quickly can Will Hammond get back, and all that. So, I'm neither, but I've been trying to get a grasp and talking to attorneys and folks like that, educate me on how this is going to go. What's the appeals process? What's the, and I will admittedly tell you, I thought that I had, my standard line had been for the last 2 or 3 weeks. I think anybody talking in absolutes, because there were plenty of people that were saying he's for sure going to be ineligible or he's for sure going to play. I just didn't feel comfortable with either side of it. But as we sit here now, I'm processing this, and I'm a bit surprised. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Initially, the judge's name was Philip Hayes. That was this case was filed in his court. He is a Texas Tech season ticket holder. He's all politics are local, and he was voted in locally. Well, he, without giving any reasons, and I'm sure we can guess as to why those were, but he recused himself 2 or 3 weeks ago, and this was assigned to a judge out of Tarrant County with a undergrad at UTA and a law school graduate degree from University of Houston of all places. And that's because I've seen a lot of it's a Texas Tech judge, it's a local judge. It's neither. And so I just wasn't sure how this was going to go. But yeah, I'm surprised that I guess because we all read from everybody, this is a no. You can't do this. And that's it. It's the one rule you can't break. Well, I guess you can. And what their argument was, that they were claiming, hey, look, I'm admitting I have a problem. I've sought help for this problem. You guys say you're about mental health and all this stuff. And whether we roll our eyes at that or not, and that's what their case was. And modernizing policy, because I joked with people before that used to, we'd frown upon people getting gold Trans Ams. That's a Eric SMU reference, and now we applaud such behavior. So it's up to everybody else, and Texas Tech is going to end up, or Sorsby is going to end up being the villain. I get it. People are, should Texas Tech suspend him for more and all that? He's going to serve a 2-game suspension, which is what his attorneys suggested, and that's what the judge was like. Okay, I'll accept that. So here we sit. But yeah, it's been a lot to try to process for sure.
Did you go down to the courthouse to observe up close, or were you just kind of monitoring the reports coming out of there?
There were 2 people that basically work for one of our outlets that were there, and they came away. I'm like, I don't know what you're getting into here. I don't know how long this is going to go. I don't know, because there was some thought that the judge, this was a week ago today when this hearing took place, there was some thought that the judge could just rule from the bench and hear all the arguments, and he could just make a ruling right then. That's not what happened. But I remember from my people and then others that were there basically saying Sorsby's camp had precedent, they had material, they had all the lengthy arguments and, medical diagnosis, whatever. And the NCAA, their opening statement was very short, and they basically were like, he broke the rules. Just because he's good at throwing a football doesn't allow him to not break the rules. The end. Yeah. And they just didn't. And so most people, and I think it all lasted about 3 hours. And so, yeah. And I think that we were given pretty good indication that a ruling would come within a week. And sure enough, that ended up being right, because we're right at a week out today.
Yeah, I think Jarrett Ramirez,
yes.
We had him on right after he was coming from court, and he'd made it back home, and he did a nice job, tweeting all that. It's not easy if you've never really covered a court case to say,
correct.
Okay, well, how's this going to work? And I think that was really smart for y'all to have some people on the ground and have them in there. I was trying to think of context for a player or a quarterback that went into a season, you were right to bring up the villain thing. Now, Tech had already crashed the party, and in a sense, for that very reason, they've sort of become villains because people don't like it when like the non-blue bloods show up. I mean, although the Indiana thing was sort of like, wait, what's going on here? And now they're national champs. So that sort of took its own airspace. Now Tech is going to get the full brunt of this whole villain status. I was trying to remember of a player. I can think of it in basketball. Y'all even had a player a few years ago that had some legal issues, and people were saying stuff to him when he'd go on road games, things like that. But from a quarterback standpoint, I'm having a hard time thinking of someone that is going to catch as much hell as this guy is about to catch. Now, when you put your helmet on and you're out there on the field, football is a little easier than basketball to separate from all of that. But I think you're right to bring up the villain thing. I think Texas Tech almost overnight now goes from kind of like would you look at these guys spending all this money? This is kind of interesting. Them showing up in the playoff to like the face of like everything that's wrong about the NCAA. Tech now gets to wear that, and this quarterback in a way gets to wear that. How do you see that playing out? And can you think of anything we have to compare this to? I mean, you and I are about the same age, so we can remember how hated Jimmy's Miami Hurricanes were back in the day. And they loved it. They embraced the hate, right? And they sort of said, bring it on. I don't know if how Tech's going to handle this. How do you see all that playing out?
Yeah, and the weird thing is like this is not a young man that broke any law. He didn't. No one else was harmed by his activity, only his own bank account, and obviously he broke the NCAA rules. I've found it interesting. Like I'm sure you've seen this. There was a report out about 20 minutes ago that there's some Big 12 athletic directors. Gene Taylor of Kansas State was quoted. We don't know if we're going to play Texas Tech in anything this next year and all that. And I'm thinking to myself, well, Gene, were you the athletic director when Bill Self was getting caught cheating through Adidas and everything and served a suspension for that? I mean, was that this is where you're going to put your foot down? I mean, anyway, it's just there's some irony to and the Georgia athletic director was quoted in this same story, to which I thought, you've got athletes driving 137 miles an hour like once a week for reckless driving and being pulled over for it and all that stuff. So
it's easier to point out other people's transgressions, by the way. I'm pretty good at that too. I don't really love to air my own out, but I can really point the finger at a lot of folks. I even had people Tech people kind of coming back at Baylor today. Well, but nothing happened to Baylor on the Dave Bliss scandal, and I had to explain, well, it kind of did.
There
was 5 years of probation, and they had a little trouble coming back from that. But anyway.
But yeah, and to ask your question or answer your question about will they look? I mean, Texas Tech was already kind of I don't know if villain would have been the right word previous to this, just because, again, as you pointed out, when you do well and it's not necessarily expected, and either credit them or criticize them, they've been very transparent. Here's what we're doing on how we're getting good. These are our philosophies. This is the way we're going to recruit. We're playing by the rules that everybody else is. I think that, some folks embrace them. Some folks were like, yeah, this isn't for me. I'm going to root against them, whatever. This is it's going to be a circus this year in many ways. And I think Brendan Sorsby will need to have thick skin. Joey would probably try to say that it will galvanize his team, and they'll play, I don't know, harder or be more unified because of this, because of the way that they'll be painted as the villain. And I think that, I don't know if it'll be like Jimmy Johnson-esque, but they may in fact lean into it. I don't know what other choice you'll have. You can't. People are going to have their opinion of what's going on here, and Texas Tech hasn't. This was Brendan Sorsby's case against the NCAA. We knew that Texas Tech weeks ago was going to support this kid and let the chips fall where they may legally. The judge has ruled that he's eligible, and I don't think you'll get this, but maybe Texas Tech comes in and says, "Hey, we'll suspend him for some more games." I don't know, but they haven't broken any rules or anything like that. But I certainly get the animosity or the passion or the whatever. But you're right. This is a long list of I mean, I go back to, Dabo Sweeney. Like, they tampered with my player. Here's the receipts. And he's showing everybody the text messages and all that. Nothing happened. Ole Miss offered their player a $1 million contract when he's sitting in a Clemson class. And he took it. So it's just there's a lot going on. But if this is what people think is the final straw or the one that breaks it, then I certainly understand.
How good do you think he is? I mean, he's been out for spring. He's been obviously getting help with his gambling addiction. They say he can now be back with a team. That was one of the arguments made. NCAA's like, hey, no, it's this stuff that triggered this thing. And they're saying, no, he needs to be, back with the team. That's where he needs to be, and that will help him. I do think, like you're saying, they could use it. It could be galvanizing and all of that. But we still have to go back to what I'm trying to wonder is, like, how great was he at Cincinnati? Or do we think these quarterbacks are great once somebody decides to pay him a bunch of money? When Tech pays him, $6 million, is that why we decide he was the best guy in the portal? Or was he doing something at Cincinnati that was truly remarkable that made him the best in the portal? Like, I'm trying to get my arms around that, Chris. Like, I'll be fascinated to watch how they perform with him, because they got to the playoff and then they obviously had Baron Morton had a horrible game in the playoff. And getting Sorsby, I think Tech fans and everybody thought, well, this is going to change everything. And if we're fortunate enough to get back to the playoff, we'll now have this great quarterback. Do you have you had time to kind of go back and look at what he was like at Cincinnati? Because we sort of base these things on, like, how much money they make instead of, like, their game tape and, like, how good he was against so-and-so, in their schedule. How good is Brendan Sorsby in your mind?
Well, I think Texas Tech felt he was a Texas boy that they felt like was really good. I think the NFL agrees. I think he would have been the second or third best quarterback taken in the NFL draft. That's what a lot of the NFL folks seem to have thought. I don't know where that lands, if that's, that's for everybody to debate that. I do think he's a draftable quarterback in a loaded QB class next year that could be on the high end. I just don't know, is that 5th or is that 35th? I don't have any idea. The one thing, though, that I will tell you that Texas Tech saw, and they had problems with this all throughout last year, they had red zone issues. And Sorsby ran for, I think, like 600 yards and like 9 touchdowns. And so guess what? You're not going to have, I don't think as many, or if any, red zone issues this year, because they just had no threat of QB run game or anything like that. And I would say that this will be easily the most talent that Brendan will have ever played with, whether it's up front or at running back or a all-league tight end. He doesn't have to come in and be, superhuman or anything. He just has to kind of be pretty good, in some cases be really good on some situations and all that. But and I think that he was one, if we're just talking football here, he was one that felt like he needed another year in college. He's well aware of those statistics of college quarterbacks that have enough snaps in college that really work in the NFL versus ones that are still pretty green and haven't worked. I mean, there's a lot of data out there that would suggest to you that if you've got a certain number of snaps in college, you have a better chance to succeed. And so, yeah, football wise, I was never worried about this. Like this wasn't, but it adds a whole new layer with you're going to miss some time. He was around for the entire spring. He practiced the entire spring. This really all kind of came out the last week of spring practice.
That's a good point.
Yeah, and he's been gone for 6 weeks, I guess, with in treatment and then with his family. I believe he is back in Lubbock, and so, but I don't know what his mental. That's really the big unknown. How is he going to handle it? It's going to be a lot, but it's something that he clearly, this is self-inflicted and all that. And I'm sure he thought that there was probably a good chance that he wasn't going to get any eligibility, and he was going to enter the supplemental draft, which I think he would have been chosen. So it's a lot to process. I certainly get all the angst, the frustration, the vilifying of whether it's Sorsby or Texas. I understand all that, but the judge rules he's eligible, and so at some level he's going to play football in the fall here in Lubbock.
Isn't it funny that Cody Campbell went from sort of like a interesting, almost mysterious figure to he's putting out a statement really before Kirby Hocutt and Joey or anybody says anything. Like he is very out there, forward, and I think for the most part, obviously he's been incredible for Texas Tech. I think for various reasons, there were some previous regimes that they weren't really open to him, and then once they kind of let him in, the results have been amazing. But you've been out there on the ground, and you probably knew him and visited with him, had come across him before any of us knew him. But isn't that interesting to see a booster go from kind of like, a guy that used to play football there, but not really quoted very much, to being probably the most quotable guy at the university?
Yeah, I mean, I've known Cody since the early 2000s when he played for Mike as a player. Him and John Sellers both, and those are the double eagle guys that have done so well in the oil and gas business. But Cody, I think while you're, the reason he releases a statement, he's the chairman of the Board of Regents. I mean, he's the top of the food chain. And I think, though, to your point, he's been very outspoken about the stuff going on in Washington, D.C. I think people can roll their eyes at his involvement there. I do think he's for, I know this is going to surprise people, he is for a salary cap. He is for, like rules that can be enforced. And his statement today, the irony of it is you got all these injunctions being one. Let's see, Alabama had one, Mississippi had one, Vanderbilt had one. This was all football and basketball related. I'm probably missing some, but this is the protocol that you have at your disposal to use, and it's just take it to court. And if a judge rules, and this, I mean, I think wasn't the one of those judges in one of those cases was like, maybe it was the Ole Miss quarterback, Trinidad Chambliss, is like the guy's like, crying. He's an Ole Miss, grad, I think, if that memory serves, and all that. Well, this wasn't a local judge at all, with no Texas Tech ties, but that's what he's saying, and I think that he's pointing out Charlie Baker's hypocrisy in that last week you weren't for, reform, you weren't for this latest bill, and now all of a sudden today you are. So, but yeah, that's where I think Cody comes at it from. But you're right. He has ingrained himself to the fabric of what this place is. And I mean, that's the chairman of the Board of Regents. Yes.
I'll just tell you that the chairman of the Board of Regents at Baylor University, nobody could pick him out of a lineup, and they keep those people under lock and key, and they never put out any statement, and they are controlled better than any group you've ever seen. And if you think you can control like 35 Baptists, it's pretty incredible that they can do that. So yeah, some boards don't have leadership that is that forward facing, I guess is what I would say. Chris, thank you. I the next time we talk, there's other stuff, man. Even yeah, I mean, I'm fascinated by like what Tech is putting around. We're thinking about Sorsby, but like last year they had this unbelievable pass rushers and defensive tackles and all this portal, and now I think now it's kind of like Indiana. Anybody they take, it's like Hoover's at Indiana. Well, we're just going to give him the Heisman. I think that way of Tech now. If they bring in a defensive lineman, I feel like that guy should be a top 5 pick in the NFL. So that's a tribute to their money, and also a tribute to identifying talent and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, always great to catch up with you, and I really appreciate the time on a crazy day.
Hey, Matt, I appreciate it. Keep hope alive, and we'll talk again next time, man.
You have to do that being a Baylor fan. All right, there he goes. Chris Level, Red Raider Sports, does it all out there. Does a really nice job, and always good to have him on because he brings great insight. All right, we got Chuck Cooperstein, voice of the Dallas Mavericks, is going to join us next.
At Schmaltz Sandwich Shop, we don't just make sandwiches, we build them with fresh ingredients, bold flavors, and homemade baked bread every single day. Toasty on the outside, goodness on the inside. Schmaltz Sandwich Shop in Waco is locally owned and operated since 1975 with 2 locations in Waco, Town West off Valley Mills and downtown off 5th Street. Whether it's lunch, dinner, or just a craving, we got the perfect bite waiting for you. It's the premier charity event of the year, the 2026 Central Texas Cattle Barons Ball, presented by Ascension Providence. A fun evening filled with great food and drink, dancing, a spectacular auction, and more. This year's theme is Nashville Nights, Neon Lights, and Bullfights. Get your tickets now, donate, or be a sponsor. Help support the American Cancer Society to find a cure. The 2026 Central Texas Cattle Barons Ball, October 24th at MCC Highlander Ranch. For more information, go to centraltexascattlebaronsball.org.
David Willey here. I got a question for you. How do you know what kind of deal you're getting on your copier? If you really want to know, give me a call and I'll be glad to talk to you about it. CTWP, your only local copier company.
It's the 2026 Heart of Texas Builders Association Parade of Homes, brought to you by the First National Bank of Central Texas. Tour a variety of homes at different price points, plus see the latest trends from beautiful kitchens to outdoor living spaces. See the latest colors and design patterns. This is your chance to walk through homes, meet the builders, and get inspiration for your own projects. The Heart of Texas Builders Association Parade of Homes, June 5th, 6th, and 7th, and June 13th and 14th. Tickets are available online or at any parade home. For more information, go to wacohomeparade.com.
Do you suffer from low sports enthusiasm? Have you just not been able to get into the game? Maybe your balls are just feeling deflated. Well, get back to your old self and enjoy the game again. The friendly bartenders at Dancing Bear want you to know that you're not alone, and they can help. With dozens of craft beers rotating every week, pints of beer at Dancing Bear Pub have proven to reduce symptoms of low sports enthusiasm. Side effects include good times, good vibes, and new friends. Do not visit Dancing Bear Pub without consulting 4 or 5 of your closest buddies.
Bumblebee Blinds of Waco and Temple is your one-stop shop for custom window treatment, transforming your vision into reality. Choose from a selection of shades, blinds, shutters, and curtains. Bumblebee Blinds stands behind our service and products, ensuring peace of mind with our trusted warranty. Call Bumblebee Blinds today to schedule your design consultation. Bumblebee Blinds, simplifying window treatments one covering at a time. BumblebeeBlinds.com.
All right, it's Mosley. And we are waiting to be joined by our next guest. We just doubled up today. Some days we don't have guests. Some days we do. Some days I get excited and want to talk Brendan Sorsby. Now I want to talk about game 3. All right, Spurs. And we need to talk about game 2 a little bit. Kev, while we wait, I'm going to tell our buddy that we're ready for him. Because he was coming back from something. So we'll make sure he can get on properly, Kev. And hopefully he finds the link okay. He'll let me know if he can't. the great Chuck Cooperstein, voice of the Dallas Mavs, getting ready to join us. I tried to get him on the other day, Kevin. He said, I'm on a plane to Ohio, to Columbus. I'm going to watch the Memorial. Jeez. They had a playoff in the Memorial, and JT Poston won that playoff against somebody named Gerard, I think was the last name of that young man who lost. And Poston had kind of dominated a lot of the tournament, so I did not I was kind of happy to see him win. Just right on time, as always. Like I would ever have any doubts. It is Chuck Cooperstein, voice of the Dallas Mavericks. There he is. He's arrived back at his computer. Let me put my glasses on so I can get a good look there at Chuck. He's the computer shining the light in his face there. Chuck, welcome back to the Mosley Show. Very happy to have you, sir.
You shouldn't be surprised that I'm on time. I'm on time, man. At least when I remember to do stuff like this, I'm on time.
I'm nuts.
The broadcast starts when the broadcast starts. Your tea time is 2:30. You're on the tee at 2:30, unless you're Garrick Higo. But generally that's how it works around here.
That's what I love about you. Garrett Higo is that accessible for you. Like that you're just able to grab that name. And most people have forgotten that story, but he was over there on the putting green, right?
Yes, he was.
And he just couldn't quite get over there in time. Was that the U.S. Open or was that the PGA Championship?
Yes.
Can you imagine being at a major?
And he would have been like tied for the lead or one off the lead without the 2-stroke penalty that he suffered because of that.
Now, speaking of golf, what led to you attending the Memorial? Not that you're not a man about town, and I never know, you get to go to really cool events, and you've covered a lot of events, but Jack's tournament.
I have friends who live there. I have friends who live up in Ohio, and they live at Muirfield Village. So they've invited me up there the last couple of years to go watch it and to walk it, and at some point, hopefully, I'll be able to play it. But it's gorgeous. It is so hard. Again, like just about anything else in sports, TV does amazing things, but TV does not give you the full view of what the event is like, or in this case, how difficult the golf course is. It just doesn't have that capability. And so, I just know walking down the first hole at Muirfield Village, I'm thinking this might be the hardest first hole I've ever seen in my life. It's just the fairway tilts so hard from right to left, and then the second shot is back sort of left to right, and the green is Jack's greens are all big, but this one is like super wide and not nearly as deep. And you're like, where am I hitting this thing? And the bunkers are just they're big and they're deep, and I'm just thinking, if I ever do get to play it, even from the shortened tees, because my ego has left my golf game a long time ago, if I break 100 there, man, I'm going to be happy. Seriously, it's one of the hardest places I think I've ever seen.
Harder even than Craig Ranch here recently.
Yeah, it's harder than Craig Ranch, and I'll tell you what, you talk about seriously. Listen, Muirfield Village generally is in the top 20 courses in America, by whatever, what Golf Digest used to do. And now, a whole bunch of people are having their own rankings. But it was a perfect tournament for those who are going to be playing the U.S. Open at Shinnecock in 2 weeks to get ready to play. Now, granted, there are more trees at Muirfield than there are at Shinnecock. The wind, it can be, it can be far more penal at Shinnecock because there's nothing to stop the wind. But like on Friday at Memorial, it was plenty windy, and it was playing fast and firm, and the greens were like rocks. And there was one round of 65 that JT Poston shot, or Ryan Gerard shot, I guess, actually, and there was nothing beyond 69. It plays like an open layout. And so for those guys, it was tremendous preparation.
Yeah, and like after one of those rounds, Justin Thomas and Rory actually hugged each other. They thought it was so hard. They just had like an embrace after the round. Did you see the great Jack Nicklaus? Obviously, this is Jack's tournament. Okay, I wondered if Jack was milling around there or he stopped by the house where you were staying.
Dude's 86, man. He ain't just milling around anymore. I mean, there are places he has to get to and that he will get to, but I don't think he's huddling among the masses in the process of the week.
Where was is the house like within walking distance of the course, or is it actually like right there where you could see the course from the backyard?
It was a short drive.
Short drive. That is nice. And was Poston. I mean, don't you kind of like that when the guy that's led for most of the tournament and he kind of faded and he came back to win it? Were you pulling for him or were you pulling for the young Gerard?
I mean, I had no dog in the fight. I was just enjoying watching what I was seeing. Now, I came home Saturday, so I actually beat the storm out of town. So, but listen, what a finish. I mean, it's a 5-way tie with a hole to play. I mean, you really can't ask for a whole lot more than that.
What are we seeing, Chuck, from the Spurs in these first two games, other than the inability to obviously make plays at the end of the game? But it's, we talk about, oh my gosh, they're not quite ready. They're not ready. And yet they make it all to the finals. And now it's like, well, maybe the inexperience is finally showing up a little bit. But we'll talk about Wembanyama, but I'm just sort of wondering what you're seeing is going on with this offense that, I mean, OKC's got a great defense, and yet their numbers against OKC were stunningly good. The series before that, stunningly good offensive numbers. How much of this is what the Knicks are doing to them, and how much of this, in your mind, is kind of what the Spurs are doing to themselves here?
I think it's more the latter than the former. I think Wembanyama settles for way too many face-ups. I think they need to get him the ball on the move, going toward the basket, as opposed to simply just throwing him the ball, and having him face up and shoot 20-footers or 3-pointers or what have you. I mean, it's kind of like how I felt for years about DeMarcus Cousins. DeMarcus Cousins is an incredible offensive player now. I mean, he could literally do everything, but he loved to shoot threes, and I thought that was just simply anytime he shot him, it was a waste of possession for his team, whether that's Sacramento or New Orleans or later on the Golden State or what have you. And I think they need to do less of Wembanyama trying to initiate from outside the arc, and more put it into Aaron Fox's hands, who was much better in game 2. And granted, listen, he's hurt. Okay, that dude's playing hurt right now. But he was much better in game 2. Put it in Dylan Harper's hands. Let them try to create off of dribble handoffs or side pick and rolls or what have you, and have Wembanyama on the move, catching in the lane, because when he does that, he is unstoppable. And I don't, you can talk about Karl Anthony Towns all you want. He's done a really good job, and Mitchell Robinson as well. But when that guy is moving and he's bending the defense along with him, that creates opportunities not just for Wembanyama but for everybody else on the Spurs. They shot the ball well enough from deep. They didn't take many threes in game 2. They only took 28, made 11. I mean, that's 39%. That's more than acceptable. That's well above the league average. But in the end, look, Matt, I mean, the first game, they've got the lead with 5 minutes to go. I mean, they're in really good shape, and they collapsed. They just made some horrible decisions. And then obviously, Wembanyama's turnover late in the game, that gave, and then the foul on Jalen Brunson, which again, you didn't have to do. None of that had to happen. they're that close from being up 2-0 and us talking about them, this incredible juggernaut that will never be stopped for the next 10 years to the Knicks doing, what the Knicks are now on this historic run of doing. It's that close. And that's kind of the beauty of the NBA right now, because it is that close. And there isn't that much difference between these two teams, not at all. And frankly, given the insanity of what we're about to see tonight in New York, I wouldn't be surprised at all if San Antonio won the game. Not in the least. But obviously they have to win it, because if they don't win it, the series is, for all intents and purposes, over.
The building's going to be pretty crazy. And I don't think we'll have ever gathered more celebrities. Maybe when the Lakers have been in the finals in the past, you could get as many, but there's going to be a lot of them there. Where did you grow up being from New York? Did you grow up a Knicks fan?
Huge Knicks fan. Huge. They were the team that, fostered the love. I mean, I was 11 years old when they won the title in 1970, when Willis walked through the tunnel. And, it's something I'll never, ever forget. And something, frankly, that I will never, ever forgive James Dolan for in the redo of Madison Square Garden about a decade ago. They spent $1 billion and they took out the most iconic part of the building. They took out the tunnel that Willis walked through to get to the floor for Game 7. That was the team, and how they played really for many years has been sort of my North Star of how basketball should be played. And so, I mean, listen, there are just so many things to this day, that I can remember about that season. It's probably one of the most transformative sports seasons of young Chuck's life, because it really sort of put basketball on the map for him.
Do you find yourself still, pulling for them, or does your broadcasting career and having to call all these games maybe be a little more neutral? Has that taken away some of that boyhood Chuck?
Yeah, I'd like to see him win. Frankly, because I'd like to see the scene in the Canyon of Heroes after they win, and the parade that would follow, because nobody does that parade better than New York does. And I'm rooting for Jalen Brunson, because I like Jalen Brunson and really like Jalen Brunson when he played for the Mavericks, and I enjoyed watching him even grow to where he is right now with the Knicks. But it's certainly not live and die, whether or not they win. I've got another team that's far more important to me right now.
What do you think Jalen's ceiling was with the Mavs? I saw you tweeting about that the other day, and it's an interesting thought to me. Like, he was not going to become this Jalen playing with Luka. Now, I guess if Luka left, maybe he would become this Jalen.
Right.
But with Luka involved, Luka was always going to be the centerpiece of everything, and everybody had to sort of play around him.
He would have been Kyrie. You never would have had to trade for Kyrie, because he could have been that player. He showed that he could play alongside Luka for a team that went to the Western Conference Finals in 2022. And obviously showed that, okay, on the nights where Luka's not there, that he has the ability to ramp up his game to a really high level that allows his team to overcome whatever absence the star player might have. So, listen, he was grossly underrated, clearly, by not even being a first round pick. But, Matt, we see this all the time as far as the NBA draft is concerned. Production barely counts. And usually the longer that you're in college, even as productive as you are, scouts have a tendency of slotting you. And when you have 18-year-old, 19-year-old players that have played only 1 year and are not necessarily fully formed, the ego in teams and in scouts and development is, we can make him that player. We can make him that player. But to me, the dumbest thing that teams do is judge by age. We're going to draft because this guy's 18. We'll put guys side by side. One guy's 18, the other guy's 22. And you know what? Once the games start, teams don't care whether you're 18 or 22. Okay, they want to know whether or not you're going to win or be able to win. And if you're good enough, then your team is going to give you a second contract. And if you're not good enough, they're not going to give you a second contract. It's really pretty basic for me. And when you have somebody who as productive as Brunson was as a player, as skilled as he was, I mean, we always saw the ability, even at 6'1", to be able to play in the low post, get it to him on the block and, play through there, invert your offense and have him play down there as opposed to always playing out top. And the fact that he's won wherever he has played, that has to count for something. But for a lot of teams, when they go through the draft process, they really discount a lot of that.
Are you hearing on this Mavs draft? Do you have? Are you like, hey, I love all those guards, or it's hard to go wrong at 9, or I mean, you love watching the college game, and so you've seen a lot of these guys play, especially these SEC guys, the guy at Arkansas, in fact. But is there any of these guys, maybe the guy from Louisville, Brown, is there anybody that you have kind of fallen for, or you find yourself wanting to watch more and more of leading up to this, or are you kind of open-minded? How do you feel about this Mavs draft?
I think they're going to get a great player at 9, and it doesn't matter who that player is. The thing about social media, especially in the run-up to a draft, whether it's the NFL draft or the NBA draft, people get more stupid the closer we get to it, and they throw stuff out there that makes absolutely no sense at all. I'm convinced, people will look at, it's been hit and miss at 9 through the years. And, I can use the argument that the two top scorers in the history of the Mavericks were both number 9 overall picks. So, players are there and they know what they need. They need play generation. They need some, creativity back there. They need some ability to guard on the perimeter that's, better than what they've had. And I think just about any one of those guys, with the possible exception of Acuff, but Acuff's offense is so extraordinary that, that can be overcome, if you have health behind you. If the Mavericks have, a healthy Derek Lively, and they have a healthy Daniel Gafford, and they have a healthy PJ Washington, by the way, all of whom were not healthy last year, and Lively, obviously the least healthy of all of them, but Gafford basically played the entire year hurt, and Washington, for the second straight year, has played fewer than 60 games. They need him. But if you have those guys, well, then you can take a chance on Acuff because he's going to be able to create so much for you on the other end of the floor. So I love them all. I really do. And I've taken the position that, no matter who the Mavericks wind up taking at number 9, it will be a win for them. And they will be better than they were the day before the draft. And they have a chance to be, I think, significantly better in some cases because of it.
All right. And this coaching search, this is interesting to watch. And it's always kind of like you see other fan bases get their new coach, right? One of them is named Mosley, who used to be with the Jamal Mosley, used to be with the Mavs. And you're like, wait, we like this guy. We like Sweeney. Oh, wait, somebody's hired him. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of good candidates and all. What are you, studying this new grand poobah of everything Mavericks, Ujiri? Like, where do you think this thing ends up? Like, not the name exactly, but what do you think is most important as he makes this huge decision on new head coach for the Mavs?
His ability to communicate and to be able to get along with his star player. That's first and foremost. Everybody can X and O in the NBA. Okay. but the ability to get along with your stars and to develop your stars is really important, I think. And I think that's where Jason Kidd was exceptional, and I think that's. But there's a lot going on here. I mean, Jason has his thoughts, and Masai obviously has his thoughts, and I haven't talked to either one of them, but I'll just think that they're both pretty headstrong in what they believe in, and maybe after they talked with one another that it was kind of a mutual thing that that it wasn't going to work, and so you go and you find somebody who certainly is aligned with the thought processes of both the Masai Ujiri and Mike Schmitz, and at the same time has that ability to communicate. Now if that, I would think that at some point, whether it's a first-time assistant like the last coach he hired in Toronto, Darko Rajakovic, or it's an experienced coach. I mean, you hope that there's some degree of experience. You're not going to hire all newbies, to come in and be the new staff. But I just don't have a particular feel, and I don't think anybody does right now, at least publicly, of who the new coach is, and indeed, and that's why I think you've seen so little of, wild, the speculation that you normally see around NBA coaching. I mean, you really haven't seen very much. I know Mark Stein wrote something the other day about, both Dusty May and John Shire from the college level. You haven't seen much from the NBA, right? So I think, Masai said he was going to cast a wide net. It sure sounds like he's doing that. But ultimately, what that looks like, I don't really know. I don't know. Nobody knows. And frankly, I think that's a good thing, because the last thing you want is for any of this to become a circus. And frankly, for the last 16 months, there's been a lot of three rings and a rooftop and a calliope and going on around the Mavericks franchise. And if this is the way they choose to do it, I think. Given indeed, look, when Patrick Dumont hired Masai Ujiri, nobody knew that was coming, right? I mean, and I think here where they're kind of following the same playbook, and I think that can only be a good thing.
I'm just glad that you got to call games involving Cooper Flagg, because it was so demoralizing after Luka and for everybody. But I mean, just to go from that level of excitement to like, oh my gosh, this thing is going off the rails. It was pretty amazing last year. From where it started, I remember talking to you about your expectations for him in those early days before the big, and then with him having like the 50-point game, and it's again, he was the number one overall pick. So you have to have huge expectations. But it's rare that you meet them, and hopefully he'll continue to build on that,
or maybe even exceed them.
Correct.
Given what was thrown at him.
Yes.
To me, to encapsulate Cooper Flagg's season, look at where he was in Game 1 against San Antonio, where he doesn't score in the first half. Winds up with a double-double, but he really didn't affect the game all that much. And, Wembanyama had his 40, 15, and 3 block game that really was the warning shot across the bow to everybody in the NBA that, hey, we're serious about this in San Antonio. And then take it to game 81, next to last game of the season. And, Wembanyama's doing his thing, and Cooper Flagg is matching him basket for basket. And it was extraordinary to watch. And, just to go from point A to point B to see that, was really quite amazing. And, being able to describe the journey of his development. And I know a lot of people jumped on Jason Kidd for, putting the ball in his hands right away and having him play point guard. And it certainly wasn't perfect by any stretch of the imagination. But I think if you ultimately look at where Cooper Flagg was at the end of the season, the fact that Jason Kidd did what he did accelerated his development much more quickly than it probably would have happened otherwise. So, hey, I can't wait for October to get here. I can't wait to see, what the Mavericks do in the draft and, what happens in early July as far as all the moves that are possible for them to make. I have to believe that it's going to be better. And let's face it, too. I mean, they played more close games than any team in the NBA last year. They didn't know how to win them. Maybe next year that'll be the step forward where they sort of figure out how to win those games, and especially you have Kyrie coming back. And not that I expect Kyrie to be the Kyrie he was at the time he was hurt, in March of last year, but it's certainly going to make life a lot easier, and I think it's going to make it a lot more entertaining too.
Do you think Mavs fans don't hate the Spurs as much? And do you think a playoff series would bring all that back? I just feel like Wembanyama is such a different player than anything we've really ever seen, that there's almost some interest in the Spurs, and maybe it's anti-Knicks. I don't know what it is, but I'm not sensing that Mavs Spurs hate that during the Dirk years was so palpable, and we remember it. It doesn't seem to be around anymore.
If they play, it'll happen. And of course, listen, they played 5 times in 10 years. They played in 01, they played in 03, they played in 06, they played in 09, they played in 10, and it was 3-2. San Antonio won 3 series, the Mavericks won 2. And, one of the series was arguably, in the 21 years that I've done the Mavericks, I think was the best played series that I think I've ever seen, the series in 06, which it was an absolutely remarkable series on so many levels. So, I mean, rivalries are made in the playoffs, and the fact that the Mavericks and Spurs played as often as they played, and the series were as competitive as they were. If you get that back together, move it ahead to 2026, and somehow the Mavericks and Spurs are playing in the playoffs again, yeah, I think the hate returns pretty quickly on both sides.
I was listening to the Celtics fans, chant "Beat LA" to the Sixers. I was watching that old Celtics Lakers documentary. It was on the other night, 30 for 30 or something, and it just brought back those memories. And then thinking of the Mavs in the 80s, how caught up we got in LA, and it would just be random, whoever they were playing. And then from the rafters, from the old Reunion Arena, now we're going to be 2 arenas removed. I didn't even bring that up, Coop. We're out of time, but yeah, the Mavs are moving. And I hope you just keep going, right? And keep doing the games right up to Valley View. But think about that. Do you remember going to Valley View Mall at any point in time?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Listen, man, I'm old enough to remember when Sanger Harris was at the mall. Okay.
I was trying to go Joski's. Oh man, I was talking about bringing that food court back. They had a pretty good food court over there at Valley View. So anyway, shocking that the city of Dallas, couldn't get their act together and keep anybody downtown. But that's for another show. All right. But hey, we heard from our mayor. Our mayor has come out of hiding. So glad to hear from Mayor Eric. This is what it took to get him out there making some statements. All right. Hey, Coop, thank you. Glad you had a good trip to Ohio, and good to have you back in town.
Thanks for having me, Matt. Take care.
There he goes. Chuck Cooperstein, voice of the Mavs, radio voice of the Mavs, and longtime friend. And we used to do radio together at 103.3 FM ESPN. That station now, it's religious. All right. We were so good, they turned it into a religious station. But we had a nice, about 10, 12-year run over there. And Coop was there even longer than that. He was probably there 15 years or something. We had a nice run. And then they, screwed it all up because we gave it to Cumulus. And they, of course, took us all down with them. It is the Mosley Show. And we appreciate Kevin Hoosier Hall. We appreciate Chuck Cooperstein. Chris Level was great today. And thank you to the Landing, the Brazos Landing, one of the great one of the great restaurants in all of Central Texas. And on a day like today, well, today's Monday, okay? I wouldn't go over there today. They're closed today. But tomorrow, go over there, check out the New Orleans, like the Bourbon Street Bar inside. That's a beautiful, very refined bar. And then the Swamp Deck is more like, hey, let's just go out, sit on the deck, watch the river. It really hasn't even got that hot yet. So you could get out there and have a good time. Kev, do we have any news to report? Anything breaking before we say goodbye? I've been so into these interviews. I have not really looked. I know Kansas and Oklahoma were playing that game, and Oklahoma had a big lead. And, of course, my here we go. Hold on here. We're connected. It's not popping up. Kevin, any good breaking news you want to finish the day with, sir? Do you have anything for us?
The College World Series is set.
Okay. So that means that OU did hang on and beat Kansas. And what else? Were we waiting on another game as well, or did that go ahead and set everything up? Oh, good, Kev. Okay, so we're headed to Omaha. West Virginia just crushed whatever poor team ended up there. Was that Cal Poly? It just was not pretty. Troy and West Virginia meet up. OU and Alabama, a couple of SEC foes, and then University of Texas and Georgia. It's going to be a great first day. So that'll start Friday and Saturday, all right, in Omaha. And then UNC, probably the greatest, along with Florida State, the team that's been there the most without ever winning it. I think UNC and Florida State have not done that. We'll play Ole Miss. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, Kev. So the SEC, they're finally answering. They're answering in college baseball to the Big Ten. All right, and the Big Ten is not making an appearance in this College World Series. It's not really what they do. They don't do that very well. Although UCLA was the number 1 overall seed, and they couldn't even get out of their own regional that they hosted. It almost never happens, but it happened to the Bruins. That's pretty good. I mean, that's a pretty entertaining, interesting College World Series. Watch out, Kevin, on those Jell-O shots. The Jell-O shots at that famous place in Omaha where they count to see which team's fans have the most Jell-O shots. Now, I don't know if West Virginia people like Jell-O shots, but if they do, because they're going to show up in mass there in Omaha. All right, Kev, good work today. Good show today. Great guest. We'll do it again tomorrow at 1 o'clock.
We'll be at the Dancing Bear Pub live on Friday, 4 to 6.
We're doing a special show. We'll be talking more about that and getting you ready for the Team USA and Paraguay. Get it on at 8 o'clock, and they'll show that live there at the Dancing Bear Pub. We'll do our show 4 to 6 to kind of start ramping things up and get you ready and get you in position to get ready for the World Cup action as the Americans. And tomorrow, Kevin, I'll reserve some time to talk about that friendly the other day. You know what? Don't get too disturbed. There was one great goal. Boy, the kid just ripped that goal. And I like him. I like that guy. Johnson? Is his last name Johnson? I like that kid. And I mean, he has
Robinson.
star potential.
Anthony Robinson.
Anthony, yes, Robinson. I like the hair. I like the whole look. To me, he kind of has the ability to he did a flip after you're watching it right there, but he kind of put that ball. It was just he got the ball over there, and I mean that was one of the cleaner shots I've seen in the build up to the World Cup, and he put that thing high up, and I think it's like the right corner, but it's just perfect because it kind of went on the bottom side of that upper crossbar or whatever. And it just gorgeous ball. Like it made me think of like France and Germany and some of these teams in Brazil that have these guys that can just unload one on you. The Swedes are a little bit like that. Yeah, watch out. Boy, I loved watching that. All right, it is the Mosley Show. We're now a soccer show. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, all our listeners. We will see you on Tuesday at 1 o'clock. Good night.
As part of Central National Bank's partnership with Baylor Women's Basketball, we ask Coach Collin to take a shot at improving the efficiency of our drive-thru.
The lane is open! Drive the lane! Attack the lane! Go! 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 Go!
We have a few kinks to work out.
Is this what you had in mind when you invited her?
No. I think you should say something to her.
Me?
Let's make Craig do it.
Okay, yeah.
You're gonna take this canister and you're gonna shoot it up.
Be all right. Be all right. Just be confident. Hey, Coach. Can I have a word with you?
Craig, not right now! I'm with a customer.
Okay.
Central National Bank, proud partner of Baylor Athletics and Baylor Women's Basketball.